My name is Aleksander Wierzejski. Welcome to Poland Daily. Following a series of articles in Gazeta Wyborcza Daily describing the alleged malpractices committed by the leader of the ruling Law and Justice Party, Jarosław Kaczyński, the newspaper's website gazeta.pl wrote that Kaczyński is suspected of breaking the law. However, the website had to make an official apology and correction, since the leader of the ruling party is not under any charges.
Gazeta.pl website apologizes to Mr. Jarosław Kaczyński for writing in one of our articles on January 29, 2019, that Jarosław Kaczyński is suspected of committing a crime. I can't say I'm surprised. That article seemed like a lot of fuss over nothing from the very beginning. There wasn't much in it, to be honest, and they tried to make it into a scandal. They gave us nothing which could suggest that the foundation committed a crime. For me, it's quite clear. One side wanted to make an investment, another was to perform the task of constructing the two skyscrapers, and the bank was the third side, which was to finance it all. There is nothing there which could indicate malpractices of any kind, so in my opinion, they're really reaching. Just after midnight, Gazeta.pl published an apology and correction, so maybe their journalists will reflect on this and not make the same mistake in the future.
How would Poles vote in the European Parliament election? Onet.pl has published a poll which shows that over 36% of the respondents would vote for the candidates of the Law and Justice. The Civic Platform Citizens Coalition was in the second position and newly established party of Robert Biedroń in the third.
According to the survey, the Law and Justice Party would receive 36.2% of support. The Civic Platform Civic Coalition would get 29.6%. The new party of Robert Biedroń would finish third, earning 6.4% of votes. At over 5% was also the Democratic Left Alliance with 6.8%. Less than that got the Polish People's Party, the Cookies 15 movement, and the coalition of the Freedom, National Movement, and Grzegorz Braun's parties. Below 1% were Ryszard Petru's Now Party, as well as the Modern and Green parties.
The former Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Stefan Niesiołowski, may be facing up to 8 years in prison. The MP is charged with corruption in the form of sexual services paid by arrested businessmen in exchange of getting contracts in the companies of the state treasury. The MP gave up the immunity.
After the outbreak of the scandal, Stefan Niesiołowski is ready to re-announce his immunity.
I think he knows what can be in these materials.
Niesiołowski was supposed to take the payoffs in the form of sexual services paid by businessmen arrested by the Central Anti-Corruption Bureau. In exchange, he was to make up contracts for them in the state treasury.
He announced that he gave up the immunity and that he's ready for the court proceedings.
The opposition says that the Central Anti-Corruption Bureau knew about the case 3 years ago, and yet the prosecutor's office did nothing about it.
The question is, who's ruling this country? I really would like to know the answer.
The former Civic Platform Party politician said on Thursday,
This was a classic cover-up for Kaczyński-taped conversation. Corruption is corruption. The appropriate state organs have to take care of it.
The opposition is of a different opinion.
Nowadays, special forces are not run by people responsible for it, but by politicians.
The scandal with Stefan Niesiołowski playing the main role became the main subject of the joke on the internet, although the case is very serious. It's good that Mr. Niesiołowski wants to give up immunity. It means that he wants to cooperate and explain this case. It's a shame that this matter lost its seriousness.
If it's true that he helped private companies by procuring some contracts, then the consequences are obvious.
The politician may be facing up to 8 years in prison.
On February 1st, 1944, Polish underground Home Army undertook the Operation Kuchera. It was an execution of Franz Kuchera, SS and Reich police chief in German-occupied Warsaw. Kuchera was shot by a special team of the Home Army. A special underground court of the Polish underground state sentenced Kuchera to death for crimes against the Polish nation, in particular mass murders of civilians in occupied Warsaw. 12 people carried out the operation. 2 of them were killed trying to escape, and 2 heavily wounded died in hospital. Russia has suspended the Cold War-era Intermediate-Range Nuclear Forces Treaty after a similar move by the United States. Moscow's relations with the West have been at their lowest over a number of issues, including Russia's annexation of Crimea from Ukraine, as well as allegation of meddling with the presidential election in the United States and being behind a nerve agent attack in Britain.
Наш ответ будет зеркальным.
The American partners have declared that they suspend their participation in the deal, and we are suspending it as well. They have announced that they will engage in research and development programs, and we will do the same. For years, we've been repeatedly raising a question about substantiative talks on the disarmament issue, notably on all aspects. We see that in the past few years, the partners have not supported our initiatives. In this regard, I would like to emphasize the following, and ask the Foreign Ministry and the Defense Ministry to consider the following guidelines. All our suggestions in this sphere are still on the table. The doors for negotiations are open. That being said, I ask both institutions not to initiate any talks on this matter. Let's wait until our partners are ready for an equal and meaningful dialogue on this issue, which is utterly important both to us and to our partners and to the world as a whole. One more important consideration which I would like to convey to the heads of both institutions: Russia will not deploy medium or short-range weapons, either in Europe or in other parts of the world, unless such weapons of American origin appear in these regions.
And that was it for tonight's news. I invite you for following weather report and later Poland Daily Business.
Welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Let's see the forecast for tonight. In most regions, sky will be overcast. The temperatures ranging from 0 in Olsztyn, Wrocław and Zielona Góra to 6 in Rzeszów. Snowfall is expected in Wrocław and Zielona Góra. Let's see the forecast for tomorrow. Snow will appear across the Poland except Białystok and Lublin. Temperatures ranging from 1 degree in Wrocław and Zielona Góra to 12 degrees in Rzeszów. Gusty wind is expected along the Baltic coast. Let's check the weather for the next days. On Monday, more sun will appear. Temperatures range about 1 to 2 degrees. On Tuesday, pressure will grow up. We will see 3 degrees in the southeast. On Wednesday, snow is expected in the northwest and in central Poland. In other regions, a lot of sun will appear. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
You're watching Poland Daily Business Edition. Tonight our guest is Adrian Kubicki, spokesman of LOT Polish Airlines. Sir, welcome to the show.
Hello.
And we will talk about visa to United States. Those who follow policy, international policy, will not believe the fact that Poles are exempt from visa waiver program in the United States. The Czech Republic is in the program. Lithuania, you name it. All European countries.
Well, not all, but almost
Most,
all.
right. Beside Poland and Albania, or maybe Bosnia and Herzegovina.
We are indeed far behind other countries within the European Union in terms of entering United States without this hesitation, the problems with the visa. This problem has been discussed for many years already, and we figure out.
I can hardly remember any election campaign during which a presidential candidate did not promise that he will deliver the visa.
American president candidate.
The Polish candidates. And the American president, there was only one who said that, and this was... No, actually Obama said that too.
Obama said that, and President Donald Trump also promised this to Polish community in the United States. And we figured that we have to somehow help President and help all people engaged in all the efforts waiving visa for Polish people to actually achieve it. Because we know know that there is only one missing factor, which is still not there in terms of Poland being qualified to enter visa waiver program. This factor is called refusal rate. So a percentage of people, of applicants in the United States visa program who do not receive visa. And these people are counted as refusals. And
what is the
this
threshold?
So the trend is that the percentage is every year is lower. When we started our campaign last year, we started from the level of 5.9% of people who do not receive US visa. And we ended up, which is still unofficial information, but we ended up below 4% for the last fiscal year, which is a significant progress, but we are not there yet because we need to be below 3% to be qualified as a visa waiver candidate who meets all the requirements in terms of the United States policy. I understand from one hand that for the US administration the problem is pretty difficult because all rules have to apply for entire world, for all countries. Lowering down the percentage or the requirements for certain countries will definitely raise up voices of other countries who also would like to be included to the visa waiver system. So because we really think that in terms of economy, in terms of all social aspects, there is no significant risk that Polish people will move to the United States as a permanent residents or illegal employees. In terms of the economy and whether people can afford to travel to the US, for instance, for tourism purposes, we're already there. I think Polish people can afford it, and definitely they are very much eager to fly to the US, to many places in the world to spend their vacations, etc. And at the end of the day, also we know that the most significant number of Polish people living abroad live in the US, and this is over 10, some people say even 15 million people living in the US, people of Polish origin, and these people also has to have the civilized entrance to the country and back, and also the connection with their families and friends still living in Poland.
I want to ask about the campaign by itself. That it's really last year it started. It was quite vocal in the media, and you actually targeted people from the middle income, and you encouraged them to go to the United States Embassy, apply for visa.
Well, we do have two major targets, actually. We try to hit it from both angles. So first angle is of people who, for certain reasons, should not apply for visa because their chance to get the visa is very limited. We never say you shouldn't apply for sure, but you also always have to think of your personal situation, your employment situation, also your past history of entering United States, because the system of U.S. immigration system in the U.S. is getting very much into the details over the years. And we've heard the stories of people who went to the U.S. in the 90s, for instance. They overstayed their on the tourist visa, and they overstayed their stay in the United States. They came back to Poland. Then they traveled multiple times to the US and never been notified as a people who should not enter the United States. And all of a sudden, recently, they are going to the embassy to apply for a visa, and they learned that some years ago they overstayed their visit in the US and they cannot get a visa. So we also tell these people, if you have this situation that happened to you and you are under this program of non-entering the U.S. for a certain period of time, you shouldn't apply, because you don't have a chance to get a visa, and you are really impact the statistics.
How did you try to reach out to those people?
Well, by certain media, but also by certain message, and this is this particular message. And we really believe that people who will think of it as also social program and being involved in this movement, they will resign from applying, or maybe they will think that without visa, if they're restrained from applying for some time, maybe soon they will be able to travel without visa. So that's a first target. Second target is what you have mentioned, the middle class or upper class people who are now their income is enough to think of some exotic vacations, long haul flights, and US for them is actually perfect. I know that there are certain myths regarding traveling to the US, like for instance that it's very expensive, and we should already say that it's not. It doesn't have to be. Obviously, everywhere in the world you can spend a lot of money, but in terms of the US, you have infrastructure for every pocket. You have budget hotels, but you have also luxury hotels. In terms of flights, the offering by many airlines, including Polish Airlines, is so huge that actually it's not very difficult to find cheap tickets to the major US destinations, and variety of attractions from mountains, giant cities to the beautiful coast of Florida or California. You can find everything there.
This is the moment of the program when you should tell which destinations are available via LOT Airlines.
So growing number of destinations actually, and we're very happy about it. Obviously our most famous destinations such as New York, Chicago, recently added to our network Los Angeles, and this summer we are starting direct flights from Warsaw to Miami. So the heart of Florida, warm all year, beautiful coast and the beaches and everything. So lots of options, but again, the variety of attractions in the US is unlimited. This country is so wide and broad that gives everything whatever you desire.
Yes, beautiful wildlife. Sightseeing cities.
We were talking really about targets. Also, I understand that for some people, applying for visa has this image of a very difficult, humiliating process. And we also would like to target these people, explain them that it's actually not. It's not more difficult to get US visa than, I don't know, Chinese visa or Indian visa.
But let's hope that Mrs. Mosbacher, the US ambassador in Poland, will fulfill her promise, and by the end of this year, 2019, Poland will be included to the visa.
Well, there is always a risk of over-promising. But we hope so that it's going to be done.
Adrian Kubicki, spokesman of LOT Polish Airlines, was our guest, sir. Thank you very much for this conversation. And that was it for Poland Daily Business.
Welcome back to Poland Daily Weather. Let's see the forecast for tomorrow. Snow will appear across the Poland except Białystok and Lublin. Temperatures ranging from 1 degree in Wrocław and Zielona Góra to 12 degrees in Rzeszów. Gusty wind is expected along the Baltic coast. Let's see the forecast for our continent. In Northern and Eastern Europe we will accept snowfall. The lowest temperatures -4 degrees in Oslo. In Central Europe temperatures range about 2 to 6 degrees. The hottest capital city in Europe is Athens with 14 degrees. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Jakub Wocial, vocalist, musical actor, director of the Rampa Theatre musical stage. Between 2012 and 2014, he created and developed a series of musical concerts under the name Broadway Street, The Show, with the guest participation of the greatest stars of musical stages in Europe. He directed and performs in the musical Musica Love, included in the current repertoire of the Rampa Theatre. He also starred there in a performance of the musical Rent, which was a famous Broadway hit. Jakub is the originator and one of the main performers in Queen's hit show Rhapsodia with the Demon, and in the concert staging of Jesus Christ Superstar. For his performance as Jesus, he was awarded the Best Musical Vocalist of the Year 2018. Jakub also starred in the Rampa Theatre production of Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, based on the film by Pedro Almodovar. The latest production is equally ambitious. It's called Twist and Shout, based on hits by the Beatles. Jakub plays the role of Sergeant Pepper.
Hello and welcome to Poland Daily Culture. Today our guest is Jakub Wocial, who is a musical singer and actor as well as a creative director of the theatre Rampa in Warsaw. Hello Jakub, welcome.
Hello and thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Could you tell us how did your career begin and where? Did it begin in Poland or in Germany? Because as far as I know, you've worked and lived in Germany as well.
Yeah, I lived in Germany for almost 7 years. But it all started in Warsaw, in my hometown. I guess I was like 7 when I took the part in a singing competition as a child, and it happened that I don't know. I guess I was almost the last one, but I got a big puppet, and that was the first thing which happened to be. Which happened for me, that I had a privilege to be on the stage and to know what it is to be on the stage. I don't remember anything from that moment.
When was it? When you were a child?
I was 7. I was 7 or 6. Yes, that was the first experience. That was also the time when. Because my mother used to work in a company which was doing the outdoors for Metro, the Polish musical, I used to go to Teatr Dramatyczny to watch the show, and I think that was the first point when I realized I want to be a musical actor. I want to be involved in this whole musical business. And
that is quite early.
Yeah, well, that was a childhood, but I must say I knew it pretty fast that I don't know as who I want to be involved in the theater life, and it happened that I do this for a living, and I'm really thankful and happy about that.
You just answered my second question, because I was going to ask you who did you want to be when you were growing up, but we already know that you decided.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to be the person in the position I'm having right now. I dreamt, but I never expected to be like running the theater, the musical theater, the musical stage of Rampa Theater as a young person, because when I got it I was 26, and I came back then from Germany after my contract, nearly 7 years. So I was like a baby, I was like a child, and but I jumped into this water, and I loved it. I really loved it, and I really love it, and it's really, really big privilege for me to do that.
What do you think is your best experience of your career?
Jesus, that's a tough question, because I always think that the next project I'm working on, it's the best experience. So I must have had them pretty many, but I guess it's working with Roman Polanski in Roma Theatre in Warsaw with Dance of the Vampires, and then when I got proposition to do this show in Berlin, and that experience was just blowing me away. That I was dreaming about to experience, to work in West Europe and to do the musicals with the best of the best. So I got lucky and I got cast for the Dance of the Vampires.
What was it like to work with Roman Polanski?
Thank God I was still very young, so I didn't have this pressure that I used to work with Roman Polanski, and I knew who he is and who he was and what he has done. But I just took it. I just took it as I took it. I was just happy. The man himself is he's very quick. He doesn't give you many chances. And I obviously never did any film in my life, but in the theater he is working very fast. He just tells you what he wants, and he's concentrating only on the details. So actually he doesn't care what you are doing, but the cap has to be over there. So you just have to do your job and think that the cap has to be there. So at the end of the song. So that was pretty stressy, but it was very, very nice experience also, because I was the only one person in Germany who was talking with him in Polish. So always there were people filming it and making up the stories that there is a Polish guy. I was like 20 on that time, so it was I was crazy young. There is a young guy who is talking with Roman Polanski in their mother language, so in Polish. So that was pretty nice experience. But as I said, I guess now I can say it honestly, I was too young to realize what a big thing and what a big joy I really have already behind me. And I would love to repeat this thing and work with those people. And yeah, but now I am where I am, and I do, for me, crazily big things, like all of these productions in drama theater, and meeting new people in the musical business, and inviting people from USA to Poland to make concerts with them. It's also pretty amazing.
Yes.
And to see how they react, how Polish audiences react to them. It's really those experiences are also one of the best, and I'm really happy about that.
Part of the interview. Jakub Wocial debuted on the professional stage in the year 2005 at the Roma Musical Theatre in Warsaw. He played the role of Herbert from the musical Dance of the Vampires, based on The Revenge of the Vampire Killers, a film by Roman Polanski. Until 2011, he performed in the German version of this show in the Theater des Westens in Berlin and in the Metronome Theater in Oberhausen. He also performed regularly in Rebecca at the Palladium Theater in Stuttgart. In 2006, he recorded the album Dance of the Vampires. 2 years later, it earned a platinum record. He also performed at the Podlasia Opera and in the Philharmonic in the musical The Phantom of the Opera. And in 2014, he directed the musical Beautiful Cellist on the stage of the Music Theatre in Katowice. That musical is based on the music of the popular band Skaldove.
What was it like to work as a young artist in Germany? Was it a big cultural shock for you to move there at a young age?
Yeah, it was. It was. I got lucky because I made my stage debut on the stage of Roma Theatre, which is the biggest musical theatre of Poland in Warsaw. So that was an amazing experience. But then going to Germany, it was like taking many steps up, and to see all of those people, as I said, the best people you can work with, which you can observe, you can learn, take so much from them. That it was amazing. I didn't know, I must say, that's the truth. I didn't know German language very well on that time, so I was spending many hours a day to learn my part in German with a phonetic teacher. Same with English. My English was like really basic. So I had to learn to communicate with all of those people. We had many British people in the cast, so that was also difficult for me to understand the accent. And then German, living by my own in in the capital of Germany, which is pretty big and crazy, and yeah, I just loved it. But as I again say, I didn't experience the city at all because I was just concentrating on my work to do it good, to yeah, also to prove them that I was worth it, you know, to take this transition from Warsaw to Germany and to kind of to pay it back. That yeah. That was a really amazing experience, and meeting all of those people, which I still have contact with, really changed my life. It really changed my life, and as my father said, which is what is not very easy for now, especially in Poland in this business, that I grew up kind of emotionally and working-wise in Germany in this business, which they have for so many years already, so for so many decades. And those things, which I have in my head, don't make it so easy to build stuff in Poland, because I know how it used to be several years in Germany, and I would love to take some working things just to bring them to Poland and to show the people that it's gonna work easy. We just have to work. Yeah, but it's not as easy as I wish, but I think we are on a good track and things are working out. And what I'm happy about that the products and the shows which I'm bringing to Warsaw with my friends and with the creatives are working out, and we are sold out always. So this is crazy, and this is very, 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 very something I'm thankful for.
Thank you so much, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us on Poland Daily Culture, and see you again tomorrow.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Poland Daily History. Today we are at the Warsaw Citadel, a structure built by the Russians in the 1830s and later on used as a prison for political dissidents and fighters of the January Uprising of 1863 to 1864. Some of the prisoners held here would later on become prominent figures in Polish politics, while others were executed or sent to Siberia after imprisonment. Today, we will talk to some of the experts about the specifics of the Citadel, the January Uprising, and more history about the era. Our first guest is Michał Cislak, Junior Custodian at the Museum of the 10th Pavilion in the Warsaw Citadel. Today, we will discuss more about the intricate details about the January Uprising against the Russian Empire. So tell me, why did the Poles decide to rise up against the Russian Empire?
Główną przyczyną wydaje się być śmierć cara Mikołaja I.
The main reason seems to be the death of Nicholas I, known as the gendarme of Europe. His death seemed to allow for some breathing room. It appeared Russia might give way politically, that the Tsar's successor, Alexander II, would be more favorable to the Poles. Unfortunately, this wasn't the case. In 1856, the Tsar clearly stated, "There is no use dreaming or having any hope of independence, gentlemen." At the same time, the Crimean War erupted, a war lost by the Russians. It showed the weakness of the Russian Empire. So these two factors, the death of Tsar Nicholas and defeat in the Crimean War, caused Poles to reignite their dreams of independence and once again move to fight against their hated invader.
Are there any other events in Europe that eventually inspired Poland to rise up and conduct an uprising?
Without doubt, one event was the fight for Italian unification, known as Risorgimento. Poles were very inspired by General Garibaldi. They believed that if the Italians could unify their nation after hundreds of years, why wouldn't Poles be able to do it? Many Poles, such as Ludwik Mirosławski, tried to make contact with the Italians. A secret officers' school was even founded in Cuneo in Italy, later relocated to Genoa. Its task was to create new cadres for the uprising, not yet then known as the January Uprising.
wtedy jeszcze nie nazywanego styczniowym.
Were there any social tensions that eventually led to the uprising?
Palącą kwestią wydawało się uwłaszczenie chłopów. W 1861
A burning issue was the serfdom of the peasants. In 1861, on Tsar Alexander II's command, all peasants in the Russian Empire were emancipated, but this command didn't apply to the Kingdom of Poland and the so-called taken lands. The Polish peasants wondered what would happen, whether the Tsar would return this land, while future insurgents, the organizers of the January Uprising, feared that if the peasants received land from the Tsar, they would lose any personal incentive to take part in the uprising, because no peasant, having his personal needs met by receiving land from the invader, would fight the Muscovites, not having any personal interest in battling against a far superior opponent. The thought process was that the opportunity for an uprising to erupt would come from the Polish authorities, giving peasants this land, who would in turn show their gratitude by taking part in the uprising.
Powstania się rzucą, no i okazując w ten sposób wdzięczność swoim nowym wyzwolicielom.
So I heard that one of the reasons why the Poles decided to carry out the uprising also has to do with the harsh conditions of conscriptions when it comes to the Russian army.
Not long before January 1863, the Russians came up with a satanic plan. Men between the ages of 16 and 30, so those seen as the most rebellious and most likely to take part in the uprising, were to be listed by name and enrolled into the Russian army. A certain panic erupted because in previous years all recruitment was drawn. You could pay your way out of it or find someone else to go in your place. This was supposed to be different. Here, young people, the blossom of the Polish nation, the most patriotic youth, most devoted to the fortunes of their country, were to end up in the Tsar's army for many years, because soldiers, after such recruitment, spent 25 years in the military barracks. They were actually lucky if they got to spend the entire period in the barracks. In terms of Polish soldiers, they were likely to be sent to the Caucasus, where the uprising of the Imam Shamil was still in progress. It was dying out, but there was still some rebellion in the Caucasus area. The Russians wanted to use Polish patriots to suppress the uprisings of other peoples. There was a fear of a repeat from Napoleonic times, when Poles who were supposed to fight for Poland's independence were redirected to San Domingo to suppress black rebels. It was one of the direct reasons, because the recruitment was carried out on the night of the 14th and 15th of January 1863, and the uprising erupted a week later on the night of the 22nd and 23rd of January, when it became obvious that the young people who avoided the recruitment were able to escape it had no way home, so were unable to count on help from their family, and so a dramatic choice had to be made: fight or run away. The Poles chose to fight.
The Russian Empire made the decision to construct a military strongpoint in Warsaw after the Polish November Uprising, which lasted from 1830 to 1831. During the January Uprising, Russians stationed 15,000 soldiers in the Warsaw Citadel, effectively keeping armed resistance in Warsaw to a minimum. Next up, we will talk to a historian, Dr. Krzysztof Jabłonka, about the role played by the peasantry in a January Uprising. It takes a lot to take up arms and rebel against a regime. In your expert opinion, what do you think motivated the January Uprising?
Polaków, jak i inne narody Rzeczypospolitej inspirowały dwie równoległe
The Poles were inspired by two parallel ideas. The main one, to be independent. This was a permanent motive from the times of Kościuszko and never left the Poles. The most patriotic simply lived as if the invaders were not there. They tried to ignore the fact that there are foreign patrols in the streets, Cossack or Prussian ones in Poznań or Austrian ones in Krakow. While the second, after the ideal one, is the practical side, survival. The nation had to somehow survive slavery and consolidate. The most dangerous and hurtful problem in the Polish nation in the process of being reborn was the case of the peasants. Millions of peasants did not know they were Polish. They spoke Polish and prayed in Polish, but they lived in the area of their own village, or at furthest in a little town, and had no education and no awareness. These people had to be confronted, woken up with some message to save the country from the peasants being turned against the patriots of their own nation.
Trzeba było iść do tych ludzi, obudzić ich. Trzeba było z jakimś przesłaniem i uratować naród przed obróceniem owych chłopów przeciwko patriotom swojego narodu. To się nie udało w zaborze austriackim.
This didn't work in the Austrian partition, where at the last moment, 2 years before the spring of the nations, the great upheavals in the whole of Europe, the Austrian authorities directed the anger and hate of the simple peasant against their own countrymen, and they went to rob mansions and murder people. Ultimately, the governor committed a crime.
Ludzi ostatecznie tamtejszy gubernator posunął się do zbrodni, zaczął płacić.
He paid for the returning of nationals, dead or alive, sometimes even just for their severed heads. From that moment, nobody's head was safe, because it had a price of 5 guilders. It was feared that the Tsardom wanted to do the same on its own partition. Because of this, Polish patriots, a collection of intellectuals of the new generation, successors of those from the November Uprising from 1830 to 1831, wanted to prevent such a tragedy. It was obviously very dangerous because the agricultural reform was halted. They decided to go to the peasants with a manifesto. If you support the uprising, if you regain your freedom, you will be free people in a free country. You will receive land, the greatest treasure of those times.
Jeżeli odzyskacie wolność, to będziecie wolnymi ludźmi w wolnym kraju. Dostaniecie ziemię, największy skarb owych czasów. I początkowo carat wyprzedził powstańców.
At the beginning, the Tsardom was ahead of the insurgents. The peasants didn't do anything. Those who did something were the intellectuals, the youth, the craftsmen, railway workers, officials. The nobility also wasn't particularly patriotic because they were concerned about their own property, although they did offer their sons and grandsons. It wasn't until the second part of the uprising that the peasants took part. They changed. They opened up to the insurgents and saw them as brothers. At this point, the commanders said the uprising could be ended. The Tsardom gave Poles exactly what the national government postulated. In short, it followed the command of the national government of the hidden secret state.
Mówiąc krótko, wykonał polecenie polskiego rządu narodowego, ukrytego, tajemnego państwa.
In this way, the race for survival was won, although the battle for independence was lost. But it was the last battle lost. After this, there was success and independence.
Sukcesy i niepodległość.
The January Uprising was one of the most pivotal moments in the era when Poland was partitioned. The Poles would later on spend decades debating whether or not they had taken the correct path of resistance. During the interwar era, the veterans were treated as heroes, and they would later on serve as an inspiration for the soldiers fighting in the 1944 Warsaw Uprising. That's it for today. I'll see you next time on Poland Daily History.
Hello, and welcome to Poland Daily Travel. In this and the next few shows, we're continuing to go behind the scenes in Warsaw. We'll be looking at stories of the reconstruction of the city after World War II. In 1945, Warsaw lay 85% destroyed. It had been known as the Paris of the East because of its Baroque beauty. Its once famous elegance can still be found by those who look beneath the surface, and that's just what we're going to do with our guide, Wojtek Młotkowski, from Warsaw Behind the Scenes. So stay with us as we explore the rebuilding of Warsaw. Stay tuned to Poland Daily Travel. And if you like what you see, catch us on YouTube.
Here we are, we're continuing in the Finnish village. It's a really beautiful place, and the afternoon has turned absolutely lovely winter afternoon. Behind us is a really pretty house and a great setting. Both of us were just saying we wish we could live there.
Absolutely.
But,
there is a way to do that.
There is a way to do that. How
yeah.
could we do that? And also tell us about what these boxes are. But
the tendency is that the city gives these homes to organizations of public use, yes? Like if you have a society or a club or an artistic center or a think tank. So we are like a think tank, guys.
We could be a think tank.
Yeah.
Let's be a think tank.
Yeah. Let's establish a think tank just to have a location.
We're going to make a
here.
think tank.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to make a location in here, and then when you become the owner, not owner, but the user of such a house, you have to maintain it in a perfect condition, and the city will check it out. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So that is why some of these homes have already completely new windows, for instance, or have their woodwork redone, and they're, just keeping them as perfect as you only can.
You have to invest because it's a privilege, right?
It's a privilege, and it will be put on the list of monuments, I assume, for a good reason.
If not already.
Yeah. If not already, but I don't see the plates yet.
You haven't seen the plaques yet?
Okay. Not yet, but who knows? As for me, this should be on the list of monuments, especially as this is older than, 55 years, and it reflects a very special time, and it is quite good architecture. We have had about 2,500 such homes all over Poland, from Silesia, from the very south, up to Gdańsk in the very north. Even in Warsaw. We have had like 500 of such homes, and today there are not even 50 existing. So they are worth preserving.
How many are here now?
Like more than 30 for sure.
About 35, 40. Yeah.
Less than 50, I assume.
And there's a few other places, as you were saying.
Only few around Warsaw, and for instance, out of one location in which people have put up 90 of them, there is only one remaining. Mm-hmm. So yes, they can go away. Mm-hmm. In this case, they went away in this case, they went away for the National Library,
right?
For its main headquarters.
And what are these things here?
That's the thing that makes me quite proud of my city. Just look at this. These are beehives. Yes, we just definitely need more bees in this world. Yes.
Apparently, the bees are having a hard time.
I hope it's not that bad in Poland, but we try all the best to make them a better time in here. So the city allows you to have a beehive, and the city will even deliver this beehive to you and will collect the honey from here. So within the Parliament building, for instance, they serve coffee with their own honey in here. We have beehives on the Palace of Culture. I even think of putting a beehive to my own property next year. So yes, I will have to do it. As these people have done in so many cases. Look at that, it's only those 3 ones, but it's like those two and far more over there. So that's what we like. And this city honey is pretty good because in a city, the flowers come up in different seasons. It's not only one type of flower that grows around here, but 100. And so it's perfect for bees and it's very good for us.
Sweet. Stay with us. Poland Daily Travel. We're talking about bees and beautiful houses from Finland.
That's good.
With
That's
Wojtek.
good sugar.
Stick with us. We're doing Warsaw Behind the Scenes. just like that, we came upon this fence. Now, what's interesting about this?
Doesn't look old-fashioned? Yes, old-fashioned. It's not even the right word.
It doesn't look like something I could do, although it looks like it's pretty simple.
It is simple, and this is exactly the type of fence that we can sometimes see in some old-fashioned Polish villages, but more often in museums. Societies here, they do not only care about culture, but they also care about our material culture. And this is a fence like it should be put into the valley of the Vistula River. Those fences, they sometimes stop the flow of the Vistula water while the floods were there.
Okay.
And so this is how the good
this
soil
was to stop the floods, right? And keep the soil.
And keep
so
the
soil
soil
would build up behind these. What a good idea. I could use one of those in my house.
People do routinely use them. This is also a house, a place that is not only a house for us, but also a house for small mice. If you turn around, it
is there a small mouse behind me?
Yeah. Are you afraid of mice?
No, I like mice.
Well, so yes. Did you see that? You guys, did you see the mice? Mouse over there?
Where is it?
Somewhere there, crawling around and sticking its head from time to time.
I don't see it.
This is simply a small nature refuge. Just imagine that those trees are of different ages and of different types. They are perfectly fine to host squirrels, our European squirrels, and perfectly fine to host loads of birds in here.
I hear rustling. That must be the mouse. Where'd it go?
The question is, where's the cat?
We need a cat. We don't need a cat.
No,
mice are okay.
Let the mice
are
live,
sweet. Let them live.
Here.
Let them live. Yeah.
And
exactly.
around here, looking at these gardens, you will also see surprisingly many fruit trees. Sooner or later, we will see some fruit trees labeled by by their names, because we have a tendency to keep our old-fashioned apples still available to research and to the agriculture. Of course, they are not that productive as normal apples would be, but still they have this special taste and this uniqueness of an old brand, and of course they are not sprayed and not
an old variety. We
old
say
variety of
apples, right?
And especially this area of Poland is rich on apples. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, we got like easily 30 types of apples that an expert can name. Me, I can only name like 6, but not like.
No, I thought
30.
in England they were apple crazy until I came to Poland. They're even more apple crazy.
We got more of that, I assume. Of course, that's disputable, but let's dispute these beautiful topics in here. So
let's keep walking. We're losing the light.
Nature.
Let's keep walking.
Let's go there.
Yeah.
Let's come by the trees.